to the Blind Chatter Podcast. I'm your host, Tanner, and we are here today with Matt and Brady from Flying V Ranches.
Yep.
So there's two components to Flying V Ranches. That's why I kind of stuttered on that. I wasn't sure if it was Flying V Ranches, Flying V Solutions, what it was, but I appreciate you guys joining me today for this podcast. I've seen I saw your guys' stuff. I think Meat Eater released it first. Like, was it last year? Year before?
Yeah, last year, Meat Eater started distributing some content with them. We have a partnership with them that we signed a few years ago, and so yeah, we filmed all 2 seasons ago, and that season then released this year, and then this last year we filmed for next year's release. So we're doing 6 episodes a year with them. Yep, and they're distroing it on their platforms and on their YouTube, and super cool people to work with. And yeah, it's a fun project to work on. We've never done full on TV production, directing, hosting, editing. It's a whole new adventure for us. So
yeah, it's a learning curve.
And so for the people that don't really understand that, I guess so when you guys are recording in the field, it's no longer just a couple guys hunting, right? You've got extra persons there.
Yeah, we have 2. So we bring 2 guys on every hunt. So a video guy and then a video/photo guy. So the main video guy is there documenting the storyline, right? So he's documenting everything when we're talking about hunting scenario from, start to finish. And then we have a second guy who is dedicated to a bird camera. So he's doing 120 bird footage, trying to capture every kill, every flock, every spin on camera. Not only so we can learn from it, right, but we can also educate on it. And then it also makes it really entertaining. Waterfowl TV and waterfowl video, there's got to be some kill shots, and they got to be awesome. So we dedicated a whole guy just to the bird camera. And then he, in turn, when the birds are done and everybody's out and about, then he takes pictures as well.
Right. He gets kind of those lifestyle kind of photos moving through the spread and all that stuff.
Yep. Dogs, fun, laughter, celebration, pick up, take down. He's doing a lot of photos. And then when it's time to go, he's stuck behind the camera, videoing the birds as they work, and hopefully working all the way into the hole and watching a big grind happen. That's the goal.
Yeah.
At 120 frames per second, that's got to get some pretty cool footage out of that.
There's killer footage. It eats up a pile of data and drives, terabytes. I think last year we when we delivered the footage to Meat Eater, it was a lot. 20 terabytes.
Yeah, it was a pile.
More. It might have been more than 20 terabytes. Yeah, like right around 20 terabytes of footage.
Just to ship some external hard drives.
Yeah, and we run a number of different ways, and we're kind of refining that process right now. From a video standpoint, it changed our perspective a little bit when you're shooting in 120 because it eats up so much space. And 20 terabytes a season, you got to have a pretty robust system. So we're always refining that system. But yeah, so we got 2 guys that come with us basically everywhere we go.
Yeah, our guys, Ryan Kendall and Dane Williams, we've worked together for quite a while. They're both real handy with the camera, and they're also kind of jack of all trades. I mean, there's a lot of times they're filming, but when we're out on ranches doing work, there's other times they're running a shovel or a skid steer or whatever. I mean, it's a little bit of all hands on deck at certain times, but when we're hunting, they're capturing all the media.
Yeah. And the quick clarification on Flying V, we look at it all encompassing Flying V. There's a media component, marketing component, which is the Flying V Solutions. And that ends up being more of the personality side. It ends up being more of the entertainment. And then on the flip side, Flying V Ranches is more of the polished, kind of the work. That's what we're doing, fixing up ranches. And we'll dive into that. But from a media standpoint, what I was thinking about this last night, in preparation for getting on the call with you, one thing that's really cool about the opportunity that we have and what we're doing is that we're in the field all the time, right? We're on ranches, we're fixing ranches, we're doing work, thinking about ducks 365 days a year. That provides year-round opportunity from a content creation standpoint. And when I think back to when I was first taking photos, you're always trying to drum up things to take photos of for brands or for clients, or and it all gets jammed into this short time frame, which is hunting season, and everybody's fighting for position on who goes where and when and how much and all this stuff, right, that comes with the media business. And when we started Flying V Ranches, it really opened up our eyes to the opportunity that can be provided to content creators, because we're out there doing work all the time, and you can literally have a camera in your hand 4 to 5 days a week, every week of the year. And it just accelerates that learning curve, right? So a guy comes in, wants to be a photographer. Well, we got a lot of things to take photos of. You just grab that camera and start refining, and we'll teach you kind of the ways and teach you the ropes, and you're not constantly having to battle for in-season positioning with these brands. And I was just thinking about it. It's really cool to see the guys, Ryan and Dane, have that opportunity and be a part of this whole process. And they've been a part of it for a while, to just be able to shoot all the time, right? Constantly refining. They're not only shooting during waterfowl season. They're shooting all the time, which in turn makes them really good.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah,
probably one of
yeah.
the hardest things about like waterfowl season is like if you are doing the video stuff and you are doing media and content creation like that, if you don't pick up a camera between January and October, like it's gonna take you half the season to knock the rust off. Like
Yep.
that's like my biggest ick is I don't really, I try to take pictures like at work when we're doing big excavation projects and shit, but like I'm always so busy, like in the machine, on the ground, like doing this, doing that, that like I don't even have time to get my camera out. And then
Yep.
duck season rolls around and I'm like, yo, let's do it. And I'm like, how do you how do you like I gotta get in the menu and like fix this and like
Yeah.
do anything.
100%. And so, one thing that I would say to your listeners, and we're kind of on the hunt, and we've talked about this a bit, but this summer, I would love to have some guys kind of come in and come out over the course of the season, and just, whether it's portfolio building or just want to learn a little bit, reach out to us and we'll talk. And if you're in the Bozeman area or you want to drive to the Bozeman area for a few days, like, we got stuff going on, and we would love to be able to help some of these guys, in the off season, take some photos, and we got stuff going on and we got photo needs. So, I think it's really cool and long-term, really great opportunity for some guys to be able to jump in on what we're doing and shoot all year round, and not have to battle for positions with the brands and trying to make money and doing that thing. Like, this is just a bunch of guys having fun out on the ground, doing work every day.
Yeah. That's cool that you guys have the around the clock thing going for this, because that's the biggest thing that I think about like media and stuff like that is being able to, like you said, refine your skills and hone your skills around the clock year round, so that when it does come time for you to record what you love to do and what you love doing, you're on the money with it and you're not, struggle busting it, hitting the wrong buttons and not knowing what to do with this. Because like photography's art, like understanding aperture, ISO, your focal distances, all that stuff. Like there's so much that goes into it that like if you're not on top of it, like you're gonna waste a hell of a lot of time and a hell of a lot of memory not getting anything done.
And we've talked about the idea of throwing together a course of some sort. And although we're not going to do that this year, you guys can watch for that to come in the future. I would love to be able to throw together a 3-day course that people could come on a hunt and learn, shoot the hunts, but also have like full debriefs on what worked, what didn't, internal challenges in and amongst the course, and just learn some things that I've learned over the last 10, 12 years, taking photos for commercial brands. What actually sells? What lenses sell? What compositions sell? Right? How to take product photos without taking product photos. That's the type of stuff that we can teach people, that would accelerate that learning curve. And although we're not going to do it this year, maybe we might, but although we're not going to do it this year, keep a lookout for that in the future, because I think there's a lot to be learned. And if you're just doing it on your own, it's a long road. And if we can help accelerate that, I mean, we're in.
So, Brady, tell me, how did you guys meet? Have you guys known each other for a long time? Did you guys meet up hunting? What's the backstory on you two?
Yeah, so we met just over a decade ago.
Love this story.
And yeah, there we go. I wasn't gonna bring that part up.
Well, that's the most important part.
Yeah. So we met. I was just about to move to Montana. Matt was already here, and Sitka Gear was hosting kind of a waterfowl, I don't know what you'd call it, an ambassador event, summit, whatever. Anyway, they brought in a handful of guys from around the country, and we came and we looked at gear, and we're talking about gear and blah, 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 blah. Well, we ended up doing a day of shooting some sporting clays, and we showed up there, and, you know, we're shooting, and you kind of size everybody up. And there was a couple guys in the group that were way better. Like, one of them was a national youth champion.
Yeah.
And our other buddy, Ted Wells, I mean, he's a crack shot. Like, we weren't going to catch those guys.
No.
And so I'm kind of sizing it up, and Matt and I are next. And so, you know, in my mind, I'm mentally competing against Matt. So this whole round, it's like, I'd be up, he'd be up. I'd be up, he'd be up. I'd be up, he'd be up. And I didn't know Matt from Adam. And we get down to the very last station, and he beats me by one damn clay. Fucking wore me out. I was not happy about it.
You had a chance to win, though, because I shot first.
Of course.
I shot first, and I went up by 2. And then you ended up not.
Yeah, I lost by 1.
You ended up choking under pressure.
I did not choke under pressure, you gay.
I mean, that's exactly what happened.
True.
I mean,
No,
you knew you had to beat me.
I
You
just-
had to hit those plays.
I missed a couple clays. But anyway, so Matt's talking shit. I'm laughing and whatever. And I went home, and my wife's like, you know, how was the event? Was it fun? And I'm like, yeah, it was cool. I'm like, there's this guy, Matt, you know. I'm like, one of two things is going to happen. Either we're probably going to be pretty good buddies, or I'm going to have to fight him and beat his ass because he's a dick. And so, you know, the rest is history. He was working for a creative agency, and then he had left that agency and was kind of cracking out on his own, doing his own thing in photography. And so he needed to be hunting. And I had kind of designed my life to where in the winter I could hunt the whole winter, like every day. And so that next season, I mean, Matt and I hunted 90% of the time with just the two of us.
Yeah, we did a lot of hunting, just the two of us.
And we hunted like, I mean, not literally every day, but man, it was every day. I mean,
it's like either scouting or hunting. Well, and I mean, I was working for that agency, right? And by making the decision to go out on my own as a photographer, you know, I had some connections, but I needed a portfolio. I couldn't sell the photos that I'd gotten when I was working for the agency. So I needed to create a bank and some sales tools, right? Like, see, here's what I can do. And so I needed to go hunting. I needed to be taking photos. I needed to be building that bank so I could sell photos and meet rent, right? Because when you cut 100% of the revenue stream off, you got to find a means to an end. And so hunting every day, although it costs money, was the only way. You had to go hunting every day. And Brady was the guy that could go.
Yeah, it was kind of awesome. You know, when I moved here, you know, I got into waterfowl hunting in my early 20s. I didn't grow up doing it. I grew up big game hunting and hound hunting a lot for lions and bears with dogs. And so when I got into waterfowl hunting, I kind of became a bit obsessed with it. And it's all I wanted to do. And I mean, I'm like high level obsession, unhealthy maybe. And so when I moved here, you know, there's always guys that want to go hunting, but there's not a lot of guys you meet that like truly want to go hard in the paint like I did. And so when I met Matt and kind of got to know Matt and realized, you know, his thought process and how he did it, it was just a good match. And then as we started hunting, you know, his hunting style, the way we were doing things, like everything just clicked together and it worked really well. So we hunted together for years before we ever, you know, went into business together. Flying V Ranches, we kind of officially got that going I'd say about 5 years ago. Um, but we hunted together and spent a lot of time fly fishing together and just hanging out, being pals, right? Our wives are friends, our families get along well. So we did that for years and years and years before we ever actually, became business partners. And so it was a good way to do it, right? You kind of get to know the person and, you know, build a level of trust before you start going into business together.
Yeah, you built a great foundation on, friendship and camaraderie, and then which has led you guys to where you are now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah, and so
like
many hunting
that's like
crews.
that's like the pinnacle of like friendship. Like you
Yeah.
guys started out being buddies, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, and it's not all rainbows and butterflies, as you guys know, owning a business together and everything. But you guys have made it work, and like that's great.
Yeah, and it gave us time to kind of learn each other, right? Again, before you go into business, um, you get to kind of learn each other. You learn each other's strengths and weaknesses. And the truth is, while Matt and I are very close and now in business together, we're very, very different people and different strengths, totally different personalities. And so what that's done is it's allowed us to kind of going into the business, knowing what we knew, design the business and the roles within the business so that everybody's kind of playing to their strengths, right? I mean, Matt's talking about media, dude. I can't even run an iPhone camera. I'm not a media guy at all. And so, it's been fun. It's a learning experience, but it's not my strength, right? And so I come from the ranch side and the ranch management side and but also even just day to day, right? Different roles, different things. We've got 10 things to do on a list before lunchtime. Well, generally there's very clearly some of those that are going to be mine and some of those that are going to be Matt's just due to skill set and effectiveness. And so it's been really great to be able to divide and conquer. You don't ever want to go into business with somebody who's exactly like you because you don't need to double you. You need somebody who can complement your skill set.
Yeah.
And so I think it's worked really well for us, in that regard.
Yeah, you make a really good point there. That you don't want to. You want somebody that's going to be able to bring something else to the table other than what you already have. Because, like, think about it like a picnic, dude. Like, you don't want a whole ass table of potato salad. You want potato salad. You want some mac salad. You want some burgers. You want some chips. Maybe some fruits. I'm not a fruit guy that much.
No.
Maybe a bunch of Coors Light.
Ooh, depends on the time of the year. But I'm a big banquet guy.
Oh, yellow yummies, the buckskins.
Buckskin guy.
Yes, yeah, I'm a big banquet guy, and then Bush Light. It's weird. Like they go
Being from the West Coast, a Bush Light guy.
I know. I don't get it, dude. I just like I was at a birthday party last weekend for my my buddy's kid. He just turned I think he turned 6 or 7. But anyways, I'm walking around with a Bush Light in this hand and a banquet in this hand, like, and I'm just mixing them up, and they go together like peanut butter and jelly, man.
That's great.
Uh, so let's dive into the Flying V. Let's start with the ranches portion of it. What is Flying V Ranches?
Yeah, Flying D Ranches started. So the quick backstory is we were hunting. Matt and I, we always have taken hunting very seriously, and as such, Matt. One thing I will say Matt is very good at is he's very observant and, for lack of a better term, very data driven, right? So he's paying attention to like the crops and weather patterns and what birds are doing at different times, et cetera. And so we kind of started to build this bank of knowledge of, in this area, the birds are going to come at this time and they're going to do this. And then over in this area, they're going to do this. And we ended up having this really big bank of knowledge. And we started getting calls from people who were either selling or buying a property and saying, hey, would you guys be willing to come out and take a look at it and give us your opinion on it? And so we would. And, after a handful of those, you kind of start to think, well, man, we could probably make money doing this. We're basically doing consulting work. And the idea of Flying D Ranches has been a winding path. However, we got to the point where when we hit green light go, we were basically in a position to do anything from small scale consulting. If somebody just wants our opinion, they want a land report, et cetera, we go out and we do that, all the way on up to full scale ranch management. So, we have, properties that we work on that are everything in between. Some of them, we're out there a handful of times a year looking at it, checking on things, making sure things are going right. This one just west of us here, west of our office, everything on that ranch that has anything to do with hunting we oversee. So farming plans, excavation, duck projects, habitat construction, stream restoration,
all the way to hunting management, programming, refuge delineation, all that stuff.
how to manage pressure, where and when do we need to self-impose limits? What do we need to do? So the Flying V Ranches side has been really, really fun, right? And Montana's really diverse because you've got some ranches that are pure recreation, meaning there's no real livestock on them. And then there's other ranches that are full-scale cattle and livestock operations with a wildlife component. And so knowing how those two marry up with each other is really, really cool, really important. And so we kind of oversee all of that, and looking forward for Flying V Ranches, we're going to continue to manage the ranches that we're doing, but we are now going to be pushing into doing some acquisitions of our own, wanting to buy some of our own properties and do the improvements on them. And so we're excited about that as well. But yeah, we've helped own ranches all over, the West. I mean, we're in Montana, we'll do stuff in Wyoming, Idaho, wherever. We've kind of planted our flag as the Western waterfowl, land and ranch management team.
Yeah. So you're saying, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
So you're saying that you guys do like self-imposed limits. So are you saying that like when you guys are, actively hunting an area and you're noticing trends for certain species and stuff like that, you guys will actually go out and say, hey, like we're going to back off on, at so-and-so's limit, and we're going to back them down. We just want you guys to try to only shoot 3 instead of however many. Like say you guys are having a hard time managing mallards or whatever. And I don't know what your guys' mallard limit is per person per day. Is it 7?
7 on this side. So our state split Central and Pacific Flyway. So where we live, we're in the Pacific Flyway, 7 mallards, right? And 5 geese. And then on the Central Flyway side, it's 5 plus 1 on the ducks, and then 5 geese. And so to answer your question on the self-imposed limits, and that's just one strategy that we have from a pressure management standpoint and an efficiency on how to hunt a ranch. But let's just take this scenario for example. If you own a ranch and we are the managers of it, and you're going to bring some guys in and you want to hunt it for 4 days, like you call us up, you're like, hey, I'm flying in, I'm bringing my buddies, we're going to hunt for 4 days. How's the ranch looking? We're likely already in conversation and probably already primed the pump for this trip. Like, hey, they're here, you should come. But sometimes not. Sometimes it's just a time that you guys want to come. And let's say that there's a good number of birds, but they're kind of all focused on one spot. They're all feeding in one spot. They're all roosting in one spot. And you're trying to get 4 days of hunting out of that, right? Well, 4 days of hunting out of one spot is going to be really challenging. So what we will provide from a suggestion standpoint is maybe try doing a hunt over here and only shoot 4 a guy instead of 7 a guy. Mm-hmm. And I would start over here and then slowly work your way in, right? So if you got 4 days, let's start on the fringe and kind of close in so that your last day's a really awesome day. But your first day might be a little bit slower, but you're still going to get them. This little hole has been holding 200 ducks. We don't need to go kill that hole or shoot that hole that has 10,000 ducks on it. Like, let's start with the one with 200 and work our way in, right? So providing those suggestions to people, and that's all based on experience of our own, because what we will do is we will, depending on the ranch and the relationship with them, we'll go out and hunt the ranch on those in that 200 spot and just see, how do the birds work? How do they react? How are they acting when they're feeding over in this location to this little hole on this side of the ranch?
It's really interesting. We'll be doing a lot of those scenarios, and sometimes, we might only have one of us shooting. So say, for example, I'm up and we get a group of ducks coming in. I might be focused and, calling and finishing and shooting those ducks. And as soon as I'm shooting, Matt's watching something totally different because we're trying to see, for every action, there's a reaction, right? So depending on how close we are to the nucleus of that cell, are we bumping birds? Are we pushing birds? We might have other water features further back towards us. How close can we get to areas where birds are sitting when we're hunting them? And so, like Matt said, when we're hunting them when the owners are not there, it's truly an R&D, right? We're trying to learn, we're gathering data points to be able to give them the playbook, basically, of when they're here, here's how you need to hunt it, and here's how you get truly 4 good days of hunting. And we've said it before, man. I mean, if you get to take a few of your buddies out into the blind and you have a great morning and everybody kills 4 or 5 mallard drakes, killing 7 isn't going to change the experience. You've already had a hell of a day. And so, but if that, whatever that number is, if that means we get 4 good days of that versus 2 good days and 2 shit days, I mean, that's worth it for sure. And then again, to Matt's point, maybe we're working the fringes and working our way into the nucleus of the cell. And then on the last day, it's like, all right, now we're going to torch them. I mean, we on some of the ranches, we self-imposed refuge systems as well. Refuge systems that we never hunt, never touch, never. I mean, hell, during the water season, we barely even drive by them or get anywhere near them. I mean, it's true safety for the ducks. And so just kind of having that plan going into it, right? To say you do land and ranch management's easy to say, well, what are you going to do? You're going to plant corn, you're going to plant barley, you're going to do, I mean, sure. But there's a whole list of things that you need to learn to do it effectively, because we have a really long season in this state, right? I mean, we've got over 100 days of continuous hunting. And so we need to be able to hunt them in the early season, the mid season, and the late season. And we need to have a plan for each one and a strategy for each one. And so.
Yeah, and the refuges, there's so many components, man. Like our refuges change on some of the ranches. If they're big enough, let's just take a 2,000 acre piece. There may be a really solid refuge in the early season, but it's going to freeze up. So while it's open, that's the refuge. And as soon as it locks up, those birds move. Where do they move to? Okay, now that's the new refuge, right? We're not going to hunt them there. So having almost 2 refuges on a ranch to where now you have a safety zone all the time, that's so important. And that's not anything revolutionary. And we didn't come up with that. That's been happening for forever and on all duck management practices. There's always a self-imposed refuge or a refuge of some sort that plays a key role in the success. But you just have to be observant and aware and be willing to, go hunting, not just go shooting, right? Like go hunting.
Yeah,
that's what we like to do. Attention.
I think that even falls back, around here. Like we try to do the same thing. We've got, between our group of guys, we've got probably, at any given moment, we've got probably 9 to 12 spots that we could go hunt. And we, during the Christmas time and everything, we'll really go after them. Like we'll turn the burners on, and while some of us are working, the guy that farms is just like running the candle at both ends, just burning the wick all the way through. But at the same time, he's always like a step ahead. He's always got one place that he's not touching, because he knows that if he shoots the A spot and the B spot and the C spot, that all these birds are now going to go to that D spot or that E spot. So he's not going to go shoot that spot that he knows is going to continue to hold birds, because he hunts the outside, pushes them all in. Kind of like what you guys were just saying, like working from the outside in and always having a safe spot for him, Yes. He's got at his house, he's got, I think he's got like 9 acres or 10 acres that's flooded, that like he only hunted like twice this year. The whole rest of the year, it was just birds are out there. Like we got done hunting one day, and I think we killed like 7 limits, I think, that morning. Hunted a clover field, and we went back to the shop and we were cleaning birds. And I mean, there was thousands and thousands and thousands of ducks just getting up, meandering around. I mean, you'd be cleaning birds and you'd look up and there'd be a group of 150, 200 pintail just bombing in. And then there's a little ball of teal flying across. And then there's, 25, 30 honkers working in. And it's just like, This is like the perfect little, like, you just have this little nook that nobody touches, that you don't hunt, you don't fuck with them, you don't go drive around out there, you don't do anything. They know that they can just come here and hang out.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah,
said, I
I
mean,
think there's a
all good
there's a
things come.
big difference. There's a big difference between a good hunting spot and then a ranch that is truly managed for waterfowl.
Mhm.
You know, there's a lot of people that have they buy a property and they go out there and they shoot the shit out of them a handful of times and then they kind of push the birds out. Well, that's a good hunting spot, right?
Yeah.
But if you're going to take a property and actually manage it for this with an eye focus to this, you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to be around guys who are also willing to do that too, because the last thing you want is to be, having an argument in the blind about, hey, we're only going to shoot 4 or 5 today. Well, bullshit, I'm shooting 7. I mean, you got to have a team around you that's committed and willing to play the long game. Really, all this comes down to is playing the long game.
Yeah.
It's playing the long game for the betterment of the resource, but it's also playing the long game for your season. Again, going back to, we've got 109 days. I mean, that's a marathon, not a sprint, right? It's not like the southeastern part of the country where they got 60 days and, you're going to go every day and do whatever you can for 60 days. I mean, we've got a long, long season. And so we need to pace ourselves and pace the pressure on the birds as well. So that's one of the aspects of Flying V ranches that we do. In addition to the, on the ground stuff, the excavation, the stream restoration, the ponds, the farming plans, choosing which crops go where and why, and knowing, how we're going to feed those birds. On one of these ranches, we had some warm water stretches, and we were going through the farming planning this year, and Matt's like, well, in the late season, they pile up here. And so we're doing a bit of a crop rotation and putting corn. So they pop up over this big berm, and now they're in a, cut cornfield, and giving them the ability to pop back and forth. There's just a whole lot that goes into it. The truth is there's maybe even more to it than we thought when we started.
Yes.
And we're learning every day. But the systems that we've developed for our area have been pretty damn effective, man. I mean, it's produced some pretty world-class hunting, and again, it's a lot of fun, right? You get to go every day, wake up and be out on some of the coolest ranches in the country, and look at them of how do we make this better for shooting ducks and geese and upland birds and even sometimes big game, right? And just understanding how that whole ecosystem works together, and then basically distilling it down to, okay, here's the game plan for October, for November, for December, for January.
Yeah, it's totally different than driving around freelance hunting looking for a spot for tomorrow or for Tuesday or whatever. We're there for 5 days, right? You're just looking for hunts.
Right.
And looking for hunts is important, but you do not pick up on the fine details of what's happening in the area. What you are focused on is what's happening today, right? You don't have any previous history, and you don't know what happens after you left. You just have what's happening today and how do we capitalize on it. It is far more involved when you have a place that you're watching from day 1 to day 100, and you're like, what is actually happening? What's happening before we put pressure? What's happening after we put pressure? What happens if we put water over here, put food over here? You're just focused on what's going on, and you start to pick up on these really minute details that make a huge difference. People talk about details in waterfowl hunting, and oftentimes it's pick up your shells, make sure you can hide, make sure you have enough room for big geese, right? To land, they got to have enough room, but you can tighten it up for small geese. Those are details that you focus on any given hunt. Same goes for management. Those tiny little details can make a huge difference in success or failure. And that's what we're focused on.
One of the things that I've enjoyed the most and I've learned the most from that we've done in the last handful of years, Tanner, is after a hunt on a ranch, say we go in there and we burn their ass, right? We're like, hey, we're going to shoot them. We're going to shoot limits, and we're going to torch them. Ducks, geese, combo hunt. We're going to go burn them up. We got 7 guys. Yeah. I mean, it's full on slaughter, right? And you go have that epic hunt. The conditions are right. You do it. We will then go back day after day after day and just watch and see, how do these birds react the day after that, beat down? How do they react 2 days after, 3 days after. How long does it take for that area to get back to what it was when we decided to go in there and burn them up?
2 weeks.
That is a fascinating learning experience, man. Like,
Yeah.
you go in and burn up a place and then see what it takes. Yeah, to Matt's point, it's 2 weeks.
I mean, on water it'll take longer, but on
Say on
feed-
water, it'll take longer.
water it'll take even longer. Yeah,
Really?
but it's
So
just it's
water's different than a dry field.
it is
Yes. I mean, you
Do you
think about it, dry field's the food source.
food versus
Okay,
loaf,
yeah.
right?
So they're more motivated to eat than they are to
Well,
loaf.
so that's the difference between you guys and us too. Is our birds, they don't go dry field ever. 0 times out of 100. Sorry, 1 out of 100 you'll see ducks in a dry field.
Yep.
Most of the time, majority of the time, there has to be water. There doesn't have to be a certain amount of water, but there has got to be visible water from the sky in that field for the birds to go in there. Otherwise, they will not. The only time that you will really see birds in a dry field is in August and September during harvest time for like wheat. Wheat's a prime example around here. You go through, they cut a wheat field down. Within 2 to 3 days, you'll probably see mallards out there just moving through it, eating. Yeah, like I went out a couple years ago. I got a new lens. I took my layout blind out and a bunch of honker decoys to get some photos of honkers out there. And it was a annual ryegrass field that it was just like all turned over and everything. And all of a sudden there's 40 ducks coming in, and I'm like, what are you coming out here for? And then all of a sudden there's another 25, another 30. And I'm like, what is going on out here? Like, there's literally nothing. It's just a dirt field. Like, it was all rolled up, just dished up dirt, and the ducks are just bombing in there. But you fast forward into season, and, even like a cut cornfield, you're not seeing mallards out in a cut cornfield unless it's flooded. There's a little bit of water in it. You betcha there's going to be mallards out there. Otherwise, not happening. It's so weird. But then you go down from here and you go down to like Klamath Falls area, and you've got your grain fields and everything. They'll be out there, dry field, everything like that. Same thing with like Eastern Oregon. You go over towards Bend, east of Bend, and yeah, dry field is it's right down the alley for it. But over here in the valley, like, it's just the way, it's like our little ecosystem over here. Like, they don't touch down in a dry field. It's super weird.
I mean, these are all the data points, right? And so that's what we spent so many years gathering the data points on before we ever launched Flying V Ranches for Montana specifically. And I say Montana, I would say Montana, Wyoming, parts of Idaho, that kind of radius. Very similar, again, ecosystem, weather, everything. And that's what we spent so many years gathering these data points to then be able to do the improvements and the things that benefit the birds in those areas.
Yeah, and we don't get rain. Like it rains, but we don't get rain. Like we're not like you guys, man. So our birds are not dependent on rain. Our birds are not, used to seeing water in fields. It's not a thing. They have water sources, and they have wetlands or rivers and lakes, and then they have food sources, right? They're usually separated. Early season though, I mean, we do anything that has water in it is good, especially for ducks.
Yeah.
Because they're eating all of the stuff that comes with that, right? All the bugs and invertebrates and that type of thing. But now we focus a pretty good portion of our hunting in dry fields.
Yeah, I would say anymore it's about half and half.
Yeah.
It's about half water, half dry fields.
Yeah.
No.
And if you can have a dry field component on a farm or a ranch, I mean, it opens up the door to a lot of opportunity.
Yeah. Now you guys irrigate your fields. Like when you guys will pump your fields with water. Like your
it depends, sometimes the water table's high enough you can sub-irrigate, but generally out here they're either flood irrigated or irrigated with pivots or wheel lines.
Yeah.
And so, we on most of the good, I would say A-level, A-tier properties, there's pivots. And so those pivots are either run off a well, a tank, or pumped out of a river, depending on the water rights of the ranch and, what they have and what they can legally do. But yes, primarily irrigated. Anything that's tillable ag, that's actually crop producing, whether it's small grains, corn, etc., you're going to have some form of irrigation, whether it be flood, wheel line and or pivots. Pivots are ideal. Pivots are also the most expensive. In the last 3 years, we put 3 new pivots on this one just west of us, and those suckers are not cheap.
Yeah.
But
what do they cost roughly? Like
highly
100,000?
effective. If you put in a big, 8 or 9 tower pivot, you can spend a couple $100,000 pretty easy.
Yeah.
Per pivot. So, there's real cost that goes into it. But if you want a high yield crop, generally here you're going to do a pivot, because the crop rotation, you're going to want to do corn at some point, and you can't do corn with wheel line. And so you either have to flood irrigate corn or do it in under pivot. And if you do it under pivot, you just have so much more control of the water, the exact amount of water the plant's getting at the different time of the growing season.
It's so much more efficient.
It's so much more.
And from a fertilization standpoint and all that, it's all way more.
It's the way to do it if you can do it. And it, either already has the pivots or you can afford to put them in.
Yeah, it's definitely the differences in the, you guys are obviously a few states over, but it's just crazy to me, like, the difference between the two. And theoretically, like, we get some of the same birds too. Like, that's the crazy thing, is like the way the migration works. Like, you guys get some birds from Alaska, we get some birds from Alberta, Saskatchewan, like all that stuff. But it's just how they go down the certain geographical. I'm a big believer it's all in the geographical, the makeup of the land, the Rockies, the Cascades, all that stuff. So
I think it's that. I think it's the jet streams as well, that birds follow on different migration paths. But yeah, absolutely. It makes a huge difference. And so, even here in Montana, Deke's pissed off.
He fell. I heard a splat on the ground.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Even here, we'll have areas that are pretty close to each other. I've said this before on a different podcast. We've got a valley just south of us that loads up with birds. And then there's a small little mountain pass and basically an identical valley that runs parallel. One loads up, one doesn't. And why? I honestly can't tell you, man. The one that doesn't load up, it's got plenty of ag. It's got plenty of small grains, barley and wheat and river, but
not as prevalent, a little more spring water, a little more. There's just these small things that just make it right.
Tiny things that you got to know. And so, if somebody called me and they were looking in Valley A and said, hey, we're looking to buy this property, want to build it into a duck property, want to hire you guys to come in and help, I'd probably tell them no, because I'm not convinced no matter what we do, we're going to turn it into a duck property. There's pockets that guys kill ducks.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to go in there and buy, 800, 1,000 acres and build a duck paradise. But if you go 15 miles that way, we can 100% party on a duck property.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's really interesting how it all works out. But
it's right in the mountains, man. So like every valley is different. Every valley has something else to offer, and how they get into that valley and how they get out of that valley really matters, to your point, geographically, and how the mountains work, and then how the jet streams work into that intermountain range and region. Like it matters. It matters a lot.
That's like when our coast gets beat up with obviously a coastal storm is kind of nasty. And a couple days after that, we'll have a massive influx of widgeon and pintail and maybe a few mountains, but mostly widgeon and pintail, because they're getting pushed in from the coast with some big storm.
Totally.
It's super cool. Like, when it's going to happen too. Like you can look at the forecast and you can see everything, and you can look at the winds, and you just know that in probably 4 or 5 days, it's going to be really hot and really heavy over here. And it happens. And then all of a sudden those birds are gone somewhere else. So,
So that's one thing that we focus on pretty heavily is once they show up, how do we hold them? Right. And that comes down to pressure. It comes down to open water and safety and food. And you got to have all those components in one area to hold them once you get them there. Right. And we're predominantly mallards, right? 98%, I would say. Although we did have a few really epic groups of pintails this year.
Yeah, we had
for a few days. Right?
Some widgeons, some,
Shot more widgeon this year than we ever have. we see a lot of teal. We don't shoot a lot of teal, but we see a lot of teal.
But we're basically killing greenheads.
Greenhead mallards and big geese.
Yeah.
What's your thought on next year's 3 pintail?
We were just talking about this the other day. I would love to talk to a biologist. Matt can give you his opinion. Mine is I have no idea why they're doing it. It doesn't make sense to me, but I'm not saying it's BS or it's wrong. Somebody knows something that I don't.
Yeah, well, and I'm trying to reference and somebody, you just have to listen to the podcast. But there was a gal, and I'll look it up and I'll give it to you, Tanner. There's a gal from DU that talked about this pretty heavily on Ranella's podcast, the Meat Eater podcast, and she got into this. This is months ago. She got into the reasons why, and I recommend people go listen to this if they are interested in learning more about this pintail, raising the pintail limit. But what I had deciphered from this conversation that he had with her, Sarah or Susan, I'll send it to you, was that the population itself has exceeded the quote unquote standard, whatever level they were trying to hit by only allowing one pintail. So that population, that breeding population, had exceeded that number. How they got to that number, I don't know. She does talk about that. And over the years, it has been exceeding. And then all of a sudden we get a 40% drop, and now we can shoot 3 pintails, and everybody's questioning why. Well, what she's saying is that we're still above that line to where we could harvest 3 pintails. And there's a lot of data that's going to be recorded. It's a study, right? That's what they've released it as a study.
It's a 3-year study.
Yeah. And so it was based on that population count and them reaching that population count. Now, again, I don't know the details. What do I think about it personally? We don't see enough pintails to have an opinion, because right now we're just like, pintails.
We basically don't get to kill pintails for the most part. So
Right.
it's a little bit out of our wheelhouse. And like I said earlier, I'm sure there's some really smart people who know why and how. You know, on paper, initial glance, it's like, well, this is crazy. We're down 44%. Now we can kill 300% more. That's what I said earlier. Somebody knows something that I don't.
Yeah. And
what I know is they're not just out raising limits on stuff if they don't think it's sustainable or they can do it.
They're certainly using data to drive the decisions. I mean, they've done that forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't fully understand it either. I question the data around how many are actually being killed, right? I've always questioned the true harvest numbers because the HIP surveys are not accurate enough to understand them. So it's all based on nesting. So do you trust the nesting counts?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd love to see a detailed documentary film on how they're getting accurate counts. I'd love to see that. Somebody should do that. Not just a 3-minute deal, but like a 3-hour deal.
Right.
Show us how you're actually getting these counts.
Well, it's like the aerial bird surveys. Like when they do the aerial surveys, they do plots.
Yeah.
They take a certain plot, they do a count, and then they just apply that where they can, and then that's the number. And it's like,
which we know that is fairly accurate for condensed areas, because that's how we scout, right? Maybe not from the air, but when you look at something, the best way to scout and understand how many birds are there is to count to 10, and then count 10 chunks of 10, and that's 100, and then count 10 chunks of 100, and that's 1,000, and you can get pretty close to how many birds are in that field. But nesting is different, because nesting happens in weird locations that you can't see.
Way more spread out.
And yeah, there's on the ground stuff that's happening. I just question everything that's happening in Mexico, and not that I mean, hey, I'm not here I would love to go to Mexico and go hunting down there. But I know there's thousands, tens of thousands of pintails getting killed down there in a 3-week time period.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I think a lot of people think about is, it's like you look at Canada, you can shoot, I think, is it 8?
8 ducks.
8 ducks.
There's just 8 ducks as a whole.
Yeah.
Mexico is, I mean, I don't even know how, I don't know what the standard is in Mexico. But then you have everything in between there where it's like we're held to this incredibly tight standard. And being in the Pacific Flyway on the West Coast certainly doesn't help anything because starting in about December, we have more pintails than we can even do anything with. Like most of the time, we wait and wait and wait till we get, a small group that comes in and you can pick out a nice drake and, we take turns doing gentleman shots. And once we're done, we're done. And then it's, you get a group of pintail working and you take a couple passes and you try to see if there's any widgeon in there or something. And if there's not, you just let them work and enjoy the show and send them on their way. But
Yeah.
the thing that hangs me up is the sex, the no discrimination between your bag limit with sex. It just, and from what I've heard, is it's the amount of birds that'll be killed, whether they're hens or drakes, is not going to affect anything in the grand scheme of things. Which I can understand if they ran data on it, but just as a person, like in my mind, it's like you'd think with where we're coming from, you would set the standard at one hen, two drakes. But
Yeah.
I'm also not a biologist.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, you guys over there with how strict you are on your limits. I mean, you have to have a PhD in flight identification for your birds already. I could see Oregon going to, hens versus drakes. I think people have a hard time picking out hen pintails. I do.
I agree with you. It, especially like before the drakes really start to get their like full plumage and everything, and to differentiate between a drake and a hen, sometimes it's hard. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, we were shooting drakes in January that we're like shot it, and we went and picked it up, and I'm like, is that a drake? Like, oh my god, it is. And you're just like, oh, it kind of looks like a hen, but
Yeah.
Here's an episode number. So for anybody listening that wants a little bit more information, this is a Ducks Unlimited podcast, episode 669. It is titled Three Pintails, the new harvest regulations for the 25-26 season. I listened to it the other day. It's a pretty good listen. They kind of go in depth on kind of what their thought process is on what's going on. But like Matt was saying, he'll get us an episode for the Meat Eater podcast with was it a biologist from DU?
Yeah, she's El Jefe biologist. What's her name? Sarah something. We'll look it up and send it to you. But it's good. It's a good listen to.
Is she on the ASPCA commercials? Sarah McLaughlin?
I don't know. I'm not sure. No,
No.
so I don't think that's not her.
Yeah, we'll text it over to you, buddy.
Let's see here. That was kind of a random. I'm just very interested in all of that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the bird blade.
Yeah.
I saw the video on YouTube of the making of the bird blade, and it's a beautiful knife. What's the thought behind that? Because that's a collaboration between you guys and
Yukon Forge.
Yukon Forge.
Yeah, so the story behind the bird blade is, years ago, we've always noticed coming from the big game world, like knives are such a heritage piece in the big game hunting world, right? Everybody's got a knife that their dad gave them, that their grandpa gave to their dad, and these things are passed down. And, waterfowl hunting is such a tradition-rich pursuit. We collect decoys, we collect calls, we collect old clothing, all these cool things. But the knife element has been something that you just don't see and hear a lot about. And so we wanted to kind of change that. We wanted to build a heritage piece, but we wanted to have it be what we thought was the perfect knife for cleaning birds, whether it's a little early season teal all the way up to a big, late season Canada goose. And so we spent a couple years with Yukon Forge. The guy's name's John McNerney, going through prototypes and different sizes and different setups. And I knew John when I used to live in Colorado, and I apprenticed with John. So I used to make a living as a blacksmith and competed in blacksmithing competitions all over the country. And John is, renowned blacksmith, multiple time champion. He's won the TV show Forged in Fire. He's judged it. I mean, he is in my opinion, and I know the top blacksmiths in the country personally, I think he is potentially one of, if not the most skilled blacksmith in our country to make stuff like this. And so it was the perfect marriage. We wanted to build the best knife, period. And so we went through lots of iterations on, blade thicknesses and lengths, handle material, everything. And then what's really cool is John's younger son, Wyatt, is a really accomplished leather worker. So they're all done in handmade leather sheets. We like Western shit, right? We're Western waterfowl guys. We come from the ranching and Western and cowboy world. We don't want a Kydex sheath. We want something that's leather that over the years, when you pass this knife down to your kids and they pass it down to their kids, I want a sheath that's got a bunch of patina on it. Looks like an old saddle, old pair of chaps, right? Like something that is cool. Like that's Western, right? And so we developed the bird blade and came out with it, and we could not be more excited about it, man. I mean, it's been incredible. Everybody that's been using them and buying them and trying them out is raving about them. And waterfowl is so interesting because you think about it. I mean, we kill more animals than anybody else, right? We have bigger limits than upland hunters. We hunt in bigger groups. We definitely kill more, animals than the big game hunters. And so the knife is such a staple part of waterfowl hunting. I mean, every day you're cleaning bird after bird after bird after bird. And so we wanted to develop a knife that could be used for generations, and it is truly the best. We weren't trying, when we started Flying V, like I said in that video, we never intended to be a product company. But there are products that we have, the bird blade, and we have another couple in the chamber right now that we're going to be coming out with, that they're products that we wanted for our own use and nobody was making. And at the end of the day, man, cheap shit ain't cool and cool shit ain't cheap. We're not looking for some throwaway product that you're going to use for a couple seasons and get rid of it and get a new one. We're looking to build heritage pieces. We love leather. Again, going back to that Western culture, Western roots, leather, steel, high quality stuff that when you buy it, if you buy a product from Flying V, we are dead confident that you will have it for generations. And so that was kind of the whole thought process behind the bird blade.
It's just a nice change of pace too, because there's so much stuff that's just throwaway, one-time use type things, and one season, you got to replace all these pieces of gear that broke, and you open up something and it breaks on the first hunt. Like that happens in our world, and especially here in the North Country. And you guys deal with water, we deal with cold. And shit breaks in the cold, man. Like it just breaks. And, we're talking to manufacturers and we're talking to designers, and they're like, you guys are just the hardest on gear. Well, we don't beat our gear up. We actually take care of it pretty well. The cold ruins gear. And so who's been dealing with cold for the longest? Well, cowboys, ranchers, they've been dealing with cold for far longer than we have. And guess what? They need stuff that doesn't break ever. Because if it does break, it can mean their life.
If it doesn't break, high quality steel and high quality leather.
Yep. And so when you look at, kind of what we're coming out with in the future, I mean, we take it very seriously that it's going to be high quality, it's not going to break, and it's going to be badass Western with a Western flair. I mean, that's what we care about.
Yeah, if anybody wants to learn more about the bird blade, if you go to our website, we just launched our new website, it's flyingv.us. And you can go on there and watch the making of videos. And there's all kinds of information about the knife, the specifics, the making ofs. And man, it's a knife that we're super excited about, right? We didn't set out to be a knife company. We didn't set out to be a product company, but we will release a product if we think that it's good enough for us.
Yes.
If it's something that we need in our crew, then we're going to get it built, and we're going to find the best people in the country to build it. There's a lot of guys that can build a knife. Mm-hmm. There are not a lot of guys that can build a knife like John McNerney at Yukon Forge. I mean, that guy is truly not only an artist, but understands the functionality and the use of a knife as well as anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, he's won every major blacksmithing competition there is. I used to, again, compete with him, right? He was my mentor for 4 years. We traveled all over the country competing together. I've never met a guy who takes detail and thought out processes more seriously than that guy when he's in the forge building.
Yeah, and it doesn't get much cooler than having his son Wyatt making the sheets.
It's bad to the bone, man.
And the sheets are built to go in your blind bag, so they don't have a belt loop on them. They don't have any extra stuff.
That's even better. Like, it's literally forged for waterfowl. Like, it doesn't. When does it come out? How do I get one? Like, I want one now. Like,
it's out, man. If you go to flyingv.us, our website, it's there. Guys can hop on. We're shipping knives every day right now. Every morning when we come into the shop, we're checking orders and packaging and shipping knives, and
that's fucking awesome. That's such
they're
a
really they're really cool. And again, it'll be a knife that when you're out with your buddies and you're cleaning birds at the end of a hunt, you pull that sucker out, I promise you, everybody's going to ask you about it, because it's really sharp looking. It's really sharp. We ship them all with a Band-Aid in every box, because, you're probably going to cut yourself.
Yeah.
But it is a really, really cool piece. It's one that, I mean, we knew it was going to come out good because John was making them at Yukon Forge, but I'll be honest, like it's exceeded our expectations as well. And we've been running them for a couple years, and man, it's so cool. You use that same knife, and, Matt and I both have our original knives, and, that leather sheath's starting to develop its own patina. And if we laid my knife and Matt's knife down side by side, they have different patinas. Again, that's what's so cool about these products like leather is they all age differently. Each person's is going to age differently. I come from the horse and rodeo world. You look at everybody's saddles. They all age a little differently, and they just get cooler and cooler and cooler and cooler. Every time I see a brand new saddle, I always think to myself, that thing's going to be badass in 30 years. That's when you get some character and you get some stories and some miles on it. And that's what the bird blade is that, we made a Flying V. And so it's super cool. We're very excited about it. And again, the website is flyingv.us. It's there. It's rocking and rolling. It's live. And there's a ton of information about the knife too on the site.
Yes, absolutely. There is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, having the media guys and having us a part of it, we're able to document all that stuff. So you get to see that product get built from scratch and get to learn a little bit about John. And we also did a podcast with him as well. So you can hear the nerdiness in his voice when you listen to him talk about this project and just his profession. He is a diehard blacksmith, man.
Yeah.
Like it's
and
cool.
another way to find the video too. If you want, you can go on Instagram. You can find it on Flying V Solutions Instagram page. There's a little link for their beacon page. It has all their, YouTube videos, their decoy stuff like that. Right down there towards the bottom, there's a YouTube video making of the bird blade. You guys can find it there too. That's how I found it. But
Yeah.
Sounds like the website's pretty easy. So
it's super cool, man. And we have it set up to where if guys buy a blade from us and, if you want to send it in at the end of every season and have John resharpen it with his own hands, that's free. If somebody's in the Bozeman area, they're welcome to stop by our shop and I'll sharpen it for them for free, right? I mean, I apprenticed with John for years. I know how to sharpen the knives the same way he does. So you can either mail it into John or you can stop by our shop and we'll put the exact same edge right back on it. And you'll be good to go for the next season. But these jokers stay sharp. I mean, we've cleaned hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of birds with our knives, and man, they're cherry. They're just right.
Yeah. Those big late season honkers, the feathers, if you're cutting through feathers, if you use the blade to cut through feathers, right? If in knives in the past, you cut through 2 or 3 groups, like on that first cut through the feathers, and it's dull. Now all of a sudden your knife's dull because those feathers dull those knives really quick. The edge that he put on these knives slides right through those feathers, man. Like if you cut through the feathers and that's part of your process, it cuts right through them every time. It's really cool.
It's mega sharp and holds an edge. And again, it's made out of 440C stainless. So that steel and the way that it's heat treated and the Rockwell hardness on it, I mean, it is really, really a durable blade. And if you need to tune it up with a knife sharpener and you got a little V sharpener, you want to, throw an edge on it real quick, you can do that. It'll take an edge and hold that edge really, really well. But, if guys, again, at the end of every season, if you want, mail them in and we'll we'll put that same razor feather right back on it. You'll be ready to rock. And guys can do that every year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a buy once, cry once product, right? And like I said, cool shit ain't cheap and cheap shit ain't cool. This is built to be a knife that, Tanner, you get one and years down the road, you're handing it down to your kids and they're using it and handing it down to their kids. And that's when things get cool, right? We like history. We like tradition. We like the values that Waterfowl's built on. And in today's world of, everything being a little bit disposable, it feels like Matt said, we wanted to bring it back to the roots of building really cool shit that lasts forever.
People used to build cool shit. Is made in the U.S. People used to build cool shit.
They did. I mean, absolutely.
Like even when I was first started hunting, waterfowl hunting, and this was back in, the early 2000s. The shit did not break like it does today. There is no doubt that, but painting with a broad stroke here, but there is no doubt that things have cheapened.
Yeah.
And the desire for stuff that lasts, I believe, is there. People want things that last. Nobody likes buying new stuff every single year. It's like, gosh, I just spent this money.
One thing I'll tell your listeners, and I'm gonna push a little bit different topic here real quick, Tanner.
Mm-hmm.
This summer, and we will announce the dates very soon, we are going to host a mega waterfowl event in Bozeman. It'll have regional duck calling and goose calling. It's the DU calling contest. We've kind of taken over the event from Sitka Gear. It's going to be a big event. There'll be food trucks. There'll be live music. There'll be vendors, calling contests, etc. And Flying V will have a booth there, and we'll have a whole bunch of bird blades there. Guys can, buy one in person. They can cut their finger off in person. It's all good.
You get a free knife. You cut your finger off with it.
If you sever it completely, yeah, we'll give you a knife.
We'll give
it to you for free. If it's
we'll have a hot iron. We'll have a hot iron there too to cauterize it.
Yeah, we'll take one of our branding iron. Huh?
You gonna be doing brandings as well?
We hadn't thought of that, but we could get the Flying V branding iron heated up, and if anybody wants to get branded, I'd be willing to do that for them for free.
I'd err on the side of doing like maybe a cold brand versus a hot brand. I heard they're not as painful as a hot brand.
We could do a freeze brand.
Yeah. I've been involved in some human brandings with buddies when you're, drunk at rodeos, and I've seen this happen multiple times. They actually don't really do well on humans. They scar weird and look terrible. So I think the best play is just come to the event and buy a bird blade and then use it. But this event, we did one last fall, it was our first annual Flying V migration mixer. We're going to do the second one. It'll be in June sometime, likely. We're just working out the dates with the fairgrounds here in Bozeman. We're going to have, live music, concert, basically rebuilding, the Western Waterfowl event is the goal here. And so,
And back in the day, I remember going to the Oregon Waterfowl Festival, and they flew me out to be a judge, and I stayed with Eric Strahan and Brian Stone and then judged the events and then blew in the open. And the Oregon Waterfowl Festival was absolutely a thing. People traveled for it. People went out of their way to get to it and make sure that they were there, and it had all the right people there. We are going to, I guess, meet that standard on year one, and we are going to exceed that standard on year two, and we're going to keep this thing going right here in our hometown of Bozeman, Montana. And like Brady said, DU's doing the event, or DU holds the sanction, so we will have a Main Street sanction, but we are going to switch things up a little bit from a contest calling standpoint. We're going to switch the rules up a little bit. We're going to make it a little bit more fun. Everybody is complaining about contest calling coming to an end, and it feels like it's dying, and
it is dying.
The old, all the old crowd is still hanging on to those traditional roots of contest calling, and we're going to throw a little bit of a Western and modern twist to it. And we've ran this idea past some of the best callers in the world, and they're very excited. They're going to be here for this first annual adjustment to, contest calling as we know it today. And those details will come out here shortly as well once we get the date dialed in. But it is going to be a fun contest to come to. It's going to be worth watching.
I think it'll be way more fun for the callers and way more fun for the people watching.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we have to find a way to make contest calling fun to watch in order for people to want to do it. Like, it's, again, we've been to the biggest calling contests. I sat in the auditorium at the finals at World Goose 2 years in a row and watched Kyle Jones win both of his world titles in person. You're at the world championships. You go to that big high school auditorium and there's like seemingly nobody there.
30 people there.
It's because it's really cool for the calling, but it's not that fun to watch. And if you're not a nerd like us or you, that, you know, you can hear one tiny thing in a routine, to everybody else, it's like, yeah, that guy's really good at blowing a goose call. Like, good for him. They all sound the same, right? That's what people would say. Like, how do you pick a winner? They all sound exactly the same. And so we're going to kind of switch it up. We'll release those details, but it's going to be a super fun event, man. We're mega pumped on it.
Yeah.
Tanner, you should make a point to get out here. I know it's a bit of a trip.
When is it? When were you going to plan on doing it?
It's going to be in June. It's going to be in June, likely the last half of June sometime. We'll get it figured out. We're going through some dates with the fairgrounds because we need a big enough area with parking lot, but it'll be calling contest all day, vendors, all kinds of fun stuff. We're going to have a big concert at night. There'll be food trucks, beer, everything. I mean, it's a damn party. We threw the one last year at our shop, and man, it was a riot. We had, you know, full band there. And
we could probably do it again in our shop, but it was, I mean, if it grows at all, we're going to outgrow our space. So we're just going to move into a new venue right away.
Yeah, we're going to the fairgrounds. They've got some cool buildings. You know, there's rain contingencies, but should be good weather that time of year, and it'll be a great time. Lots of brands will be there. It's also going to pay more than most calling competitions are paying right now, and by most, I mean basically all of them. And so the prize money will be there, the format will be there, the fun will be there, and when it's all over, we can all listen to some great live music and hang out and have a beer and, you know, live our best lives.
Sounds like I might have to convince the wife that we're going on a short vacation to Bozeman in June.
You should. And that's what's fun about Bozeman is, like, for anybody listening and the callers and the people who just want to come, like, Bozeman's a tourist spot, right? It's a badass place to come in the summer. So even if your wife, like my wife, if I told her we were going to travel for a calling competition, she's going to, you know, instantly her eyes are going to glaze over like, this is probably going to suck. But there's a lot to do around here.
You can position it as a Rocky Mountain trip with the family, and it just happens to be on the same weekend as the contest.
I mean, we're an hour away from the north entrance of Yellowstone National Park. There's all kinds of cool stuff to see and do here. So
June's the best month to be here. June, July.
The event will be a big, full one-day event, but, you know, come on the front end, back end, do whatever, man. But it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of details are going to be coming out about it. But yeah, the migration mixer will be it'll be an absolute riot. And again, chance to qualify for World Duck, some really cool goose calling contests. We're gonna change it up. It'll be fun. Guys come in a lot of money. Say that again.
I love the name.
Yeah,
migration mixer.
Yeah, that's what we did as last year too. It's what it is, man. It's us migrating in June, not the birds. You know, it's all the hunters migrating to Bozeman, and we're gonna mix
together.
It's like the Catalina wine mixer and Step Brothers.
I haven't seen that forever, dude. I'm gonna have to watch it now. You just got it in my head.
I mean, it's one of the greatest movies ever made. You probably need to watch it.
It is one of the best movies. I think we still quote it today, like at work, like a bunch of the guys. It's just, you'll randomly hear somebody like, it's the fucking Catalina wine mixer, and you're like, yeah, it is. Got it.
We probably won't have, you know, boats and hose, but it'll be a great event regardless. I promise you that.
Oh God. Okay, so sometime in June, back half of June, the migration mixer in Bozeman. That's gonna be a fun one. Shoot, man. Is there anything else?
Details will be out shortly.
Oh, where are you guys gonna post your details at? On your Instagram pages and stuff?
We'll post them on our Instagram.
I mean, DU will post
DU will be doing some posting about it as well for the contest side of it, but it'll come out quick. We'll make sure that you get it too, so that maybe, you know, you want to talk about it on another podcast and let people know it's coming up, so your listeners can be aware of it. But we'll have these details like really soon, within the next couple weeks, so that everybody can start planning and have a couple months heads up.
Awesome. And then, Matt, you were telling me before that you came to Oregon to hunt with the Dave Smith guys.
Yeah.
How was your experience in Oregon? Before we get out of here, I just want to touch on it a little bit because I always find it interesting when I get guys on that travel from somewhere else to come to Oregon, because Oregon's a totally different, yeah, at least in my opinion, from what I've heard other people say. Oregon is a wildly different experience hunting than it is in a lot of places.
It is, yeah. Yeah, and so my desire to go to Oregon was kind of built when I first started really getting into goose hunting, and my mentor, Randy Southard, he had been to Oregon a bunch and hunting with Brad and is good friends with Brad, and we were running Dave Smith decoys and, like the original hard bodies, original carvings, way back when. We switched from the old original hardcores, the Corey Hamricks, to Dave's. And he had told me, and I remember this clear as day, I was like a senior in high school, and he had told me, if you ever get a chance to go anywhere to go hunting and you like goose hunting, you have to go to Oregon and hunt with Brad and Dave. Like, they do it different. It is an incredible experience. You have to experience it one day in your life. Put it on your bucket list. I'm like, okay, noted, copy that. Well, fast forward like 10 years, I was the photographer for Sitka Gear, and we had just launched the Waterfowl line, and they basically gave me an open slate and said, we need to do a story for the original Sitka Insight, which was the magazine that we used to create. They said, we need a waterfowl story. You can go anywhere you want. What do you think? And I'm instantly like, ding, Oregon. Hell yeah, let's go. And so I called Brad. I'm just like, hey, man, I want to do this story with Sitka Gear, come out. And I'd known Brad for a long time at this point. It's like, I want to come out, take pictures. I just want to come spend time with you guys. I'm going to tell a story and just have some fun. You guys got to wear Sitka Gear. Well, they were real hesitant on the Sitka Gear thing at the beginning because it was kind of like this.
And they were natural gear guys, weren't they?
They were Nat Gear guys. And so I got them switched over. And I'm like, listen, there's no obligations here. There's no nothing. All you got to do is wear it during the 3 days of hunting. And so we set this whole thing up, and I go through the education on in-flight bird identification for Oregon, because I wanted to do a little bit of shooting as well. And so we went out there, man, and I got to see the way that Brad hunts. And, I don't know how much Brad talks about his hunting style, but he has a very unique way that he does it. And I'm sure people have adopted that way since. I don't want to get into it because it's not my strategy to tell, but my eyes were open to a whole new way of hunting. And we went down there, and he focuses heavily on hide, hunts the edge, shoots him on the swing, blah, blah, blah. And we were really there. This is back when the yellow collar was still around. Now there's only one or two, is what you say, one or two, depending on who you believe and who you listen to, left. But back then in 2013, they were there, right? Yeah. If you get 1,000 birds working, there's one in it. And they were the masters at getting those things killed. And I just wanted to learn how. These birds are so small, and the collars are small, and they're yellow, yes, but yellow looks a lot like white when they're flying, and they get these big rings on their necks, and there's all this stuff that goes into it. So how do you set it up to where you know that you are shooting a collar, or you can actually get a chance to see one? Well, we went there and we killed 3 in the 3 days we were there, and I actually had an opportunity that I hesitated on, that I will never make that mistake again, of a bird in range that I should have shot, but it was behind me, and I just should have shot, but I didn't. The experience I had over there was incredible, and the way that the style of hunting is unlike anything I've ever seen. The grind and how the birds work was, unparalleled. Like, they get in these big groups, and I've seen lessers work. They do not work like lessers. They work totally different than everything else. And these big grinds, big spins, spin a lot, but totally committed. One bird drops out, and all of a sudden, one more spin, and here we go, right? It's really, really cool. I had a lot of fun. We didn't deal with any rain. We actually dealt with more cold than rain, so frost, which pushed the birds back a little bit. timing wise, but I could have shot a dusky, but I didn't. Even though I was like, gosh, I probably should. I mean, I don't care if my license gets taken away, but
Right.
but the true conservationist that I am, I didn't want to take one of them out of the population, but no, it was an incredible experience. I actually have a picture that I want to show you. The very first group of birds that came in. I'm excited, right? We watched the decoys the night before. We get to this spot that we scouted. There's an incredible edge hide. Brad sets every decoy very, very meticulously, right? We're running cacklers, no head cacklers. We're running lessers and we're running westerns. It's a full, like, true classic Western Oregon spread. And this first group gets working, and my heart's just pounding. All I got is camera. But I'm like, he says if there's this many birds, there's going to be a caller in here. I'm really interested to see how this plays out. And they all work and work and work and work and work. And now they're all on the ground. And sure as shit, after they're all on the ground, here's this caller standing. He's on the front edge, standing right at the front edge with 3,000 birds behind him. And he's standing right next to this giant honker decoy. And I got a picture of it from the blind. And I got the picture right here. And this picture is just, in my opinion, one of the coolest pictures that I've ever taken. And so I'll zoom in on it a little bit if you can see it.
Oh yeah.
And so he's got cool. The collar looking face on to the Z-neck giant decoy. Can you see it?
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
And then there's like 15 decoys in this photo, and you can't even tell, man. Like they're so realistic. But anyways, this bird was the first.
You know what's really funny? Put that picture back up for a second. Back out of it just a little bit. I think I know that. I think I know that spot.
You probably do.
It looks for that tree. I really recognize that tree.
There's not a lot of trees like that in that area.
That's cool though, man. That's an awesome photo. I know once in a lifetime shot.
Totally. And so we hadn't killed a bird yet, and Brad's like, okay, I'm gonna kill this bird. And he pulls the most gangster move ever. And I don't want to give away his secrets, but he was able to get the attention of that bird to make sure that bird was the first one to jump up when they all jumped up. And it was like a parting of the seas, man. It's like this one bird right here, and then parting of the seas, and he shot the bird. It was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. He's like first cackler I ever saw. First cackler I ever saw get shot after 10 years prior being told that this is like the pinnacle of goose hunting with the pinnacle guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched this happen. Very first one gets killed as a caller. I'm just like, there's a whole new level to this game that I haven't even touched.
Yeah.
And then it was just like constant digging and learning and understanding from him. I mean, the guy knows more about goose hunting than anybody I've ever met. I think it's unbelievable. Really cool experience. I really had a lot of fun there. We had 3 days of good hunting, and I got to hunt with Dave. I got to hunt with a guy named Zach Waddell, or it's one of Brad's buddies. And then I got to hunt with Matt Brimmer. Matt Brimmer came up from the basin and hunted with us. So it was a ton of fun. Wrote a big story called Wrapped in Yellow for the original Sitka Insight, the first one that featured waterfowl gear. And yeah, it was cool. It was really, awesome. Really cool. I haven't been back since.
We need to go.
I know we need to go.
Sounds like it's about time.
It's about time.
I got a toy hauler sitting in my backyard. Jeb, my podcast co-host, got an extra room. He's got a trailer to sleep in. You boys ever want to come over to the West Coast and get a little widgeon dirty? You let me know.
We're into it. We're into it for sure. For sure. We're into it.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. Flying V Ranches, Flying V Solutions. You can find them on Instagram. I will tag you guys in the post so that people can find your guys' page to follow along with your guys' story, where you guys are headed. Great stuff from you guys. I love the knife. I love the backstory. I love the total, conservation outlook that you guys are bringing more to the table than just being dudes out there shooting birds. Your thought processes, your, your mindset behind everything, second to none. Wish there was more guys like you out there. Really do.
Really appreciate that, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, it's been a blast. Hopefully you guys get these deets out pretty soon on this migration mixer.
We're working hard.
It'll be soon, buddy.
I gotta get my
You're closed in. Yeah, we're gonna get it.
You're gonna be there, so we'll get it figured out. You can not pencil it in. You'll be able to pen it in because it's happening.
They're gonna give me a pen this time. I usually have to use crayons because sometimes they like stack on them. But
We used to use crayons, but we found we just end up eating them. So I think pen's probably the way to go.
oh shit, Matt, Brady, guys, I appreciate you guys coming on. Enjoy the rest of your guys' day, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
See you, bro. Thanks for having us.
Take care, boys.